There's a country where 80% of the population lives stuck to the coast because the interior is uninhabitable. A place where entire cities have disappeared from the map, where the sun can literally kill you in minutes, and where the government pays you to live in certain regions because nobody wants to go there. Australia, the most isolated, most extreme, and most terrifying country on the planet. It's not just about the deadly animals, although they're also on the list. It's about an entire continent that defies human survival in ways you can't even imagine. Today you're going to discover why Australia is far more terrifying than it looks in postcards. Stay until the end because number one will leave you shocked. Let's go! Australia is famous for its paradise beaches, cute kangaroos, and the Sydney Opera House. But behind this postcard image exists a brutal reality that few people know. This is the driest inhabited country in the world, where the desert occupies 70% of the territory. A place that was once used as an open-air prison by the British, precisely because it was so hostile that no one could escape. And 250 years later, things haven't changed much. Get ready to discover the 8 most terrifying facts about Australia that will completely change your view of this country. Fact 8. The Outback. The desert that devours people. Let's start with the Australian outback, the wild interior that covers most of the country. This is not an ordinary desert. It's one of the most deadly places on Earth. Temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius in the shade. No water, no cell signal, nothing for hundreds of kilometers. And people disappear there, constantly. Tourists who leave the main road and get lost are never found again. There are famous cases like Peter Falconio, who mysteriously disappeared in the outback in 2001 and was never found, or the dozens of backpackers who simply evaporated. The Australian government has constant campaigns warning, if your car breaks down in the outback, stay with the car, because if you try to walk for help, you'll die. Dehydration kills you in hours. There are roads in the outback where you can drive for 500 kilometers without seeing any human construction. No houses, no gas stations, no signs of civilization. Just red earth, deadly heat, and absolute solitude. And the scariest part? There are areas of the outback that have never been explored. We simply don't know what exists there. Fact 7. Ghost towns and underground cities. Australia has dozens of cities that were simply abandoned. Wittenoom, for example, was a prosperous mining town. Today, completely empty. The government removed the city from official maps and prohibits people from living there. Why? Asbestos mining contaminated everything. The air, the soil, the buildings. Breathing in Wittenoom is a death sentence. But there's something even more bizarre. Underground cities. Coober Pedy is a town where 80% of the population lives below ground. It's not an exaggeration. Houses, churches, hotels, even golf courses. Everything underground. Why? Because on the surface, it's so hot, it's impossible to live. Temperatures reach 50 degrees Celsius during the day, so people literally dug homes into the rocks to survive. Imagine living in a place so hostile that your only option is to bury yourself alive. And there's more. Coober Pedy is the opal capital of the world. 95% of the world's opals come from there. People dig searching for precious stones and end up living in the holes they make. The town looks like Mars, totally lunar, deserted, with mining holes everywhere. Fact 6. The longest fence in the world. Australia built the biggest fence in the world. It's not the Great Wall of China, it's even bigger. The Dingo fence is 5,614 kilometers long. To give you an idea, that's longer than the Great Wall of China. And what is this giant fence for? To prevent wild dogs, dingoes, from entering sheep farms. But here's what's terrifying. Dingoes are so persistent, so intelligent, and so dangerous that the entire country had to build a barrier almost 6,000 kilometers long to control them. And still, it doesn't work completely. Dingoes still attack livestock, invade properties, and, in rare but documented cases, attack humans. The most famous case? Azaria Chamberlain, a 9-week-old baby who was taken by a dingo from a camping tent in 1980. For years, nobody believed the mother. They thought she was lying, until they found evidence and more similar cases. Australia needs a fence the size of a continent to protect itself from the country's own animals. Fact 5. The Australian sun literally burns you alive. Australia has the highest rates of skin cancer in the world, and it's not by chance. The hole in the ozone layer over Antarctica directly affects southern Australia. This means UV radiation is extremely high, much more than anywhere else inhabited. You can get third-degree burns in less than 15 minutes of direct sun exposure. The government has massive campaigns called Slip, Slop, Slap, slip on a shirt, slop on sunscreen, slap on a hat. Australian schools prohibit children from playing in the yard during recess if they're not wearing a hat. And it's not paranoia. 2 out of every 3 Australians will develop some type of skin cancer before age 70. 2 out of every 3. Dermatologists in Australia are among the busiest doctors in the country. They remove thousands of skin cancers per week. Imagine living in a place where simply leaving the house without protection can slowly kill you, where the sun, something that should give life, is one of your greatest threats. Fact 4. Extreme isolation and emergency services. Australia is the most isolated country in the world. It's not just geographic isolation from other continents, it's internal isolation too. There are farms in the outback that are bigger than entire European countries. Anna Creek Station, the world's largest farm, covers 24,000 square kilometers. That's bigger than Israel. And the people who live on these properties, they're hours away from their nearest neighbor, hundreds of kilometers from any hospital. That's why the Royal Flying Doctor Service exists, an aerial medical service that attends to emergencies in the interior. Because if you have a heart attack, an accident, a snake bite in the outback, the ambulance won't arrive in time. You need a plane. Children in the interior study by radio or internet because there are no schools nearby. The School of the Air serves students who live up to 1,000 kilometers away. Imagine a child going to school by plane because it's the only way to get there. And there are the road trains, trucks with 3, 4, or even 5 trailers that transport supplies through the outback. They can be over 50 meters long because the distances are so absurd it's the only economical way to transport things. Australia is so isolated it developed entire systems just to deal with this isolation. Fact 3. Apocalyptic wildfires. Wildfires in Australia are not like anywhere else. They're apocalyptic. The 2019 to 2020 fire season, known as Black Summer, burned an area larger than all of England. 46 million acres destroyed, over 3 billion animals killed. The sky turned orange, red, black. Entire cities were in total darkness at noon. People had to evacuate to the ocean and stayed in the water, breathing through wet cloths while fire consumed everything around them. And it wasn't an anomaly. This happens regularly. Australian eucalyptus trees, the native trees, evolved to burn. They release flammable oil, and their bark peels off like paper catching fire easily. Some species only germinate after a fire. Australian flora literally wants to burn. During fire season, the sky is covered in toxic smoke. Sydney, Melbourne, huge cities, are engulfed in smoke for weeks. People wear masks constantly, and this was before the pandemic. And with climate change, it's getting worse. Scientists predict Australia could have permanent fires in some regions. Fire that never completely goes out, just diminishes and then comes back. Fact 2. Deadly floods. Yes, in the desert. Here's Australia's scariest paradox. It's the driest continent in the world, but it has devastating floods. When it rains in Australia, a rare thing, it's not normal rain. They're deluges. The outback soil is so dry and compacted, it doesn't absorb water. So when it rains, all the water simply runs across the surface, creating instant floods in places that have been dry for years. There are reports of people camping in dry riverbeds because it hadn't rained there for months, and being killed by a 5-meter wall of water that appears out of nowhere. The desert can kill you from thirst or drown you. And in the cities, Brisbane, Sydney, and other metropolises suffer catastrophic floods. In 2022, parts of Queensland and New South Wales were underwater, entire cities submerged, people rescued by helicopter, Australia is a country of extremes. Either it's on fire or it's flooding. There's no middle ground. And you know what makes this even scarier? These disasters are happening more and more together. Fires followed by floods. Burned soil doesn't absorb water, causing even worse floods. It's a cycle of destruction. Fact 1. The government pays you to live there because nobody wants to, and we've reached number 1. The most revealing fact about how scary Australia is. The Australian government literally pays people to live in certain regions of the country. It offers financial incentives, relocation bonuses, higher salaries, everything to convince citizens to move to the interior. Why? Because nobody wants to go. 80% of the Australian population lives less than 50 kilometers from the coast. Most of the country is empty, completely uninhabited. It's not for lack of space, it's because the interior is so hostile, so dangerous, so difficult to live in, that even with financial incentives, people prefer to stay crammed in coastal cities. And there's more. Australia has one of the lowest population densities in the world, just 3 people per square kilometer. For comparison, India has 464 people per square kilometer, a country the size of a continent, with only 26 million inhabitants. Most of them stuck to the coast like shipwreck survivors clinging to a lifeboat. That tells you everything. The Australian population itself rejects living in their own country. And when you put it all together, the deadly desert, the burning sun, the apocalyptic fires, the floods, the extreme isolation, the lethal animals, you understand, Australia is terrifying despite being beautiful. Its deadly beauty, the hostile paradise, the place where nature reigns supreme and humans are just tolerated visitors. So, would you have the courage to live in Australia? Or after discovering these facts, have you already crossed this country off your list? Leave in the comments. Which of these facts shocked you the most? The desert that devours people? The underground cities? Or the fact that the government needs to pay people to live there? If you enjoyed discovering the truth about Australia, leave that like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell because there's a lot more revealing content coming your way. And remember, not everything that shines is gold. Sometimes it's just the reflection of the deadly 50-degree sun from the Australian outback trying to burn you alive. Until the next video.